This album is basically your brain on drugs. What's up, everybody? It's Luke James, not the singer. If you're an indie artist looking for an album review and some promo, you can hit up Luke at redmattersite.com. But right now, we are going to talk about this new Danny Brown album called Atrocity Exhibition. Now, right from jump, I gotta make it clear that Danny Brown is a type of artist a lot of people are split on. And a lot of that has to do with his voice because it is very screechy and grating, so it might wear thin for some people as they listen through this project, although he does tone it back here and there on a couple of tracks. And other than that, the experimental production on this is very unique, weird, different, however you want to describe it, and that is another thing that might not be overly accessible to some people, especially if you're more of a traditional hip-hop fan, because with these beats you're getting a lot of gritty, grungy sounds like it's influenced by maybe some shit like 9 Inch Nails, some punk music, grungy alternative because of the guitars coming into play, the weird drum patterns, but you do get a couple traditional tracks on here. I thought Pneumonia was pretty dope with that clangy production. Danny's working some really great flows on this one, and of course, you got that posse cut Really Dough featuring Ab-Soul, Earl Sweatshirt, and Kendrick. I love the production on this, just that hard-hitting boom bap shit, and I think Earl had the best verse on there. He just sounded so effortless and buttery smooth on that last verse. But back to the unique production choices, you're going to hear that right away on the opening track, Downward Spiral. This shit just sounds like a bunch of heroin addicts having a jam because of those drum patterns. Like I said, they're kind of weird. There's some electric guitar on here. It just has a very grungy and dirty feel to it. And it actually matches up perfectly with Danny's content on here because he's rapping about how he's just sweating a lot, he's seeing things, hearing voices, feeling isolated. There's just a total feeling of despair on this track, and I think content-wise, Danny does a pretty good job on this one of not only talking about his pain and substance abuse problems, but also some of the shit that goes on in Detroit, man. He's telling some of his story. I'm talking about on songs like When It Rained and Tell Me What I Don't Know, where he goes into detail about what happens to some people who are born in Detroit into some poverty situations where they got to do whatever they do to survive, whether it's crime, stabbing people in the back, robbing grandmothers, etc. So, you know, there is some great content on here, even if you might not like that experimental production and Danny's voice, which again is very, very screechy and grating, especially for a whole project. But back to the substance abuse issues, Danny is so honest on this one that it's actually kind of sad and pretty depressing. On songs like Gold Dust and the frantic, fast-paced track Aint It Funny, which just has this crazy schizo beat that's just going really fast, it kind of gives you some anxiety. He really goes into detail about how he does these drugs, he drinks a lot, he can't stop, he won't stop, and you may as well pray for him because he doesn't know how it's going to end up. He's just so honest about how he uses these things to numb his feelings and his pain to carry on with life. So I do appreciate that he's self-aware, but hopefully he can use that self-awareness to keep himself from winding up dead in a hotel somewhere, because I don't think anyone wants to hear that happen. Now, you're also going to get druggy content on a bunch of these other songs, including White Lines, where we get some nice production from Alchemist, and Danny just floats right over top of it. Obviously, with the title, you can tell this one has to do with cocaine, a little bit of Molly in there as well. He's just letting go and letting the drugs take over, but he does tone it back with some lesser drugs as well, like on the song Get High featuring Be Real, which is just a weed appreciation anthem, although I found this one to be pretty boring, just a dull track, although the production does have a little bit of a whimsical feel to it, which is kind of cool in a sense. But for the most part, this is a very dark and gritty project, but you will get humorous lines from Danny as well, where he's talking about slurping pussy like Chow Mein, slamming some ass like Ryback. As a wrestling fan, I appreciated that reference. But overall, I think this is a project a lot of people are going to be split on. This definitely is not an overly accessible project. Myself, I do appreciate the content. I think it's very honest. Danny Brown does a good job of telling his story and being real with us. But I'm not a big fan of that experimentation. I'm not really into alternative hip-hop, and I can't see myself listening to most of this album because these beats just don't suit my lifestyle or what I'm into. I can't really bump any of this shit in the car, can't chill with it at home, I can't really vibe with it. So for me, this is a 3 out of 5, but if you like experimental production and you don't mind Danny's voice, I think you could have this at maybe a 4, 4.5, maybe your album of the year. Like I said, this is not going to be for everybody. I just so happen to be one of the people who's not a big fan of this, but I'm sure you'll see a lot of reviews where people are praising this for how weird and different it is. But sonically, this just is not for me. Not going to listen to it a lot, but it was an interesting listen, if nothing else. But you guys check it out for yourself and then hit me up in the comment section with your thoughts. And make sure you do all that good YouTube and social media stuff, man, where you like my videos, you share them, you follow me on Twitter, you retweet the videos, and you especially gotta subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, everybody. I will see you next time.